I'm also been working so hard to try and get Black Pearl to happen. And I'm like a tenacious little dog with a chew toy that he won't let go.
Can you give us an update on what's happening with Black
Well, I mean, Paul Tamassi and Eric Johnson, who co-wrote the latest draft with me, got nominated for an Oscar for The Fighter. And I'm more than happy to piggyback on other people's success. It doesn't bother me at all. But they're wonderful writers. It seemed to me this thing should have been made years ago, because it's meant to look very raw and documentary-like. I mean, it doesn't have big special effects and car crashes and all of that stuff. One thing we want to do is, I said to the guys, look, we can't out Bruckheimer. We don't have all that CGI and unlimited budgets. Let's make a cerebral thriller where if you get the audience invested in the characters and they get themselves into situations where they're in jeopardy or in too deep. What I kept saying is it's more Fargo than it is a traditional comic book movie, because somebody makes a really foolish decision and spends the rest of the movie dealing with the repercussions of that choice. And it comes from being a little boy when there was a comic book club when we lived in New York, where we'd all go to each other's basements and swap comic books and read. And I remember we had this big argument over who was better, Superman or Batman.
Who won?
Well, my argument was, because I love Superman. I watched the TV show, and that's what introduced me to comic books. And I loved Superman. I read everything about him, and I loved all the fantasy of it. Not just Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen. I loved Laurie Lamaris, his mermaid girlfriend. I loved the Bottled City of Candor, the Fortress of Solitude, all of that great fantasy. Mr. Mxyzptlk, all of it. And then I sort of reached the saturation point. Probably 6, 7, 8 was Superman years for me. And then I started reading Batman, and believe it or not, it makes me laugh, is I thought it was so much more realistic. This could happen. This really could happen. He doesn't have any superpowers, and sort of looking back on that. I think when I was little, I had a strong sense of wish fulfillment that why can't there be a Lone Ranger or a Green Hornet in real life? And it was that germ of an idea where I thought, if we wrote somebody that was, if that's the premise, if it's somebody that goes out and becomes a masked vigilante, let's work backwards from what would make him want to do that. What kind of person would do that? But always with the foundation of it being absolutely believable. There's no leap of faith whatsoever. You don't have to believe that he's bathed in gamma rays or whatever. He's just the audience realizes he's a very delusional man living in his own fantasy world. And we do it in a very cinematic way. We don't tell you that. We bring you into his world and show you that. And because of circumstances that beyond his control, he finds himself having been sort of on autopilot all of his life with no purpose, feeling this is an epiphany. This is what was meant to be. And it's all given to him on a silver platter. And he thinks if he doesn't take that chance, he'll never get that opportunity again. And like I say, I don't think you have to be a comic book fan at all. I mean, one of the reasons I like working with Paul and Eric is they're not. I'm the real comic book geek. So I can keep it on the path of what comic book fans would want to see, because so many of them want to see, and Kick-Ass made us nerd, regular people, no superpowers, but it's so outrageous. I mean, I loved it.
Did you like it? Yeah,
very much. But it's not. We're not going to infringe on the pleasures of Kick-Ass. I mean, when somebody shows up with a machine gun mounted hover belt,
thing,
I mean, that's way beyond what we're trying to do. And again, I loved it. I brought my daughter to see it. She goes, "Oh, Daddy, it was so way too violent and all that horrible language."
I think it was a boy film.
Probably. I mean, the thing was, I wanted to be able to report to my partner, it's awful. We don't have anything to worry about. We're really going to... And I in spite of myself, I loved it. And but I was relieved, because, I'm frightened that because it's taken so long to get Black Pearl going, somebody's going to beat us to the punch in the same vein that we're trying to mine.
So where is it now? Where can we expect a... is it greenlit yet?
No, but there's a British company called Berkeley Square Films, and they are wanting to finance a 3-picture situation: Black Pearl, then a movie that Paul wrote and wants to direct, where I play the villain. The main characters are young 20-something people.
So you would star in, not in Black Pearl, but in the other one? Or?
Well, I don't say I would play as the antagonist, and then the third film, I would just be a producer. I'd love to direct that third film, but that doesn't look like it's really going to happen. There's somebody attached to it, but like I say, I can't say anything for sure at this point, which is a shame. We went to Cannes last year and announced that we were doing it, but that was when there was that situation where the British film industry would get an incentive from the government. I think
UK Film Council.
There you go.
Yeah, yeah.
And King's Speech was financed partially in that vein. And
you need to get Weinstein's on board.
well, I don't know.
Careful, Mark.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. No, I know. Careful what you wish for. Look, we're at a point where we think the script reads so perfectly. It's exactly where we want it right now. That we feel confident that we'll be able to get it made. But you know, in this business, you can't count on anything.
Yeah. Well, I very much look forward to both Black Pearl, and I look forward to you progressing that, and Airborne as well when it's released later. I think our time is up, but I very much appreciate.
I tried to talk as fast as I could.
You did.
And wedge in every dirty anecdote that came to mind.